Today's episode is not one that I ever thought that I would record, but I feel like I need to record it. It's not going to be me giving you a whole bunch of advice and tips on how to overcome this thing, but it is about something that I think a lot of people deal with and I wish more of us talked about. And so my goal in this episode is just to be a soft space for you to feel heard and seen if this is something that you're dealing with too. Today we're talking about anticipatory grief. This episode might be a little bit heavier than what you are wanting to listen to right now. So if that's the case, all good. I will catch you on the next episode. But anyway, like I said, we're talking about anticipatory grief, what it looks like, what it feels like, and just kind of some of the things that I am dealing with and whatever else comes out. So if you're interested, then I invite you to get comfortable, grab a drink, grab a snack. You know what time it is. It's time to tune in and shift with me. Welcome back to the On Some Real Shift podcast, where I have real conversations on what it takes to shift your mindset and uplevel your emotional and spiritual life. I'm your host, Vanessa. I'm a certified life coach, mindset transformation coach. I do Reiki and sound bath healing, but most importantly, I am a student of the universe, or the university as I like to call it. Welcome back, friends. So yeah, I didn't think I was going to record this episode. It's one that's been on my heart and spirit for a while, but I've been avoiding recording it. Number one, I'm probably going to get weepy. I hope not. I'm going to try and cut it all out. But if I do, you've been warned. So let's just get into it. I am grieving somebody that is still here, that's still alive. But I am grieving the version of them that no longer exists. I am loving somebody while watching the pieces that I am familiar with fade away. And I'm trying to find ways to hold space for both joy and grief at the same time. For grief and gratitude at the same time. And I'm gonna tell you, it's hard, but it is absolutely possible. If you have ever cared somebody with a terminal illness or a degenerative disease, then first, before I even get into anything, my deepest condolences. I am sending you peace and love. I know it is hard, and it's stuff that we don't really talk about a lot. It's stuff that happens in a lot of people's lives, and we are kind of expected to just handle it and navigate it, but nobody really talks about it before it happens. Anticipatory grief is heavy and it's real, and it is a mindfuck. So I'll share a little bit about my situation. I have a father who was diagnosed with dementia last year, April 13th of 2024. I remember the date because it was a rough day. I won't trauma dump, but just know that day a lot of things happened and my life has been forever changed. There's a lot of mixed feelings and duality when you are grieving somebody who is still alive. Sometimes I feel irrational and sometimes I gaslight myself into thinking that I'm just being too sensitive, but I'm not. I am having to grieve the version of my dad that will never exist again. He's here in the flesh, but he is not the same, and it happened overnight. Right? I have to grieve the relationship that I had with my dad because that is forever changed. I'm grieving what my life looked like. I'm grieving what I thought the rest of his life would look like. I'm grieving what I thought the rest of our lives would look like as father and daughter. But it is strange. It is strange to grieve somebody who's still alive and who might still look like themselves to some extent, who might still kind of sound like themselves to a certain extent, but you know that they are not themselves. It's really hard to grieve somebody who still smiles and reaches for your hand, but deep down is not really the same. And they don't even really know it. I will say that I'm fortunate in that my dad still seems to have a decent amount of lucidity, but his short-term memory is really, really shot. His decision making, terrible. Love you, Dad. It's terrible now. It's hard because he gets really frustrated sometimes and he thinks that me and my mom are working against him, but he really just doesn't understand we are actually doing everything for his benefit. But that's part of dementia. You lose your ability to make rational decisions, and it's really hard to have somebody be so frustrated with you and not have them understand that what you're doing is absolutely for their best benefit. Anticipatory grief is really a slow fade. It's like grieving in slow motion, and it's so uncomfortable. And I don't know what's worse, right? A clean break and a sudden goodbye, or this slow burn. I really don't know. But a lot of times it feels like crying before you have a reason to cry, even though I know that's not true. But sometimes it feels that way. And it's a lot of mourning of lost moments that you haven't lost yet, but you know you are going to lose, if that makes sense. It's almost like saying goodbye in pieces. And one of the hardest parts is that a lot of people don't understand it. Unless you are going through it, 9 times out of 10, you don't really understand it, because I often hear, well, your dad is still alive. And he is, but he is a shell of who he was. He cannot do the things he used to do. He cannot process life and engage the way that he used to. And that is devastating. And that's when you go back to questioning. And it's hard because you are in this cycle of, well, this person is still here right in front of me, breathing, maybe even laughing, making jokes with me. So why am I so upset? Why am I acting as if they have already died? Why does this feel like such a loss if nobody has died? But again, it's like you're grieving the future. You're grieving what you know is coming. For me, it's grieving the version of him who could have a normal conversation, a conversation where he can concentrate, where he can pay attention enough. It's grieving going out to eat with him and having him drive. It's grieving shooting the basketball around with him. It's grieving being able just to sit up and play chess with him, because that has become difficult. It's a lot of grieving not being able to keep him in the loop, or not keeping him in the loop in terms of what's going on in my life, because there's just a lot of stuff he doesn't get, or he doesn't remember, or won't understand. For instance, I'm so excited about my coaching journey. I'm finally doing the heart-centered work that I have wanted to do for years, and I have been dipping my toe in and out of it for a long time, but I've finally committed, and it feels so good. It feels so aligned, and I'm really proud of the stuff that I've done so far. I've told my dad on a few occasions, but if I mention it to him, it is like the first time he's hearing it. And my dad has been one of my biggest cheerleaders my entire life. So to know that he doesn't really digest that information in a way that he used to is hard. It's hard to not have him giving me a call, asking me for updates on how such and such went, because he can't remember. When I really sit and think about it and break it down, I think it's a lot of grieving of all of the little things, and they add up. I'm grieving the version of him who remembered my birthday. I'm grieving the version of him who used to be able to go to the bathroom without help. It's grieving the fact that he's the one who taught me strength, right? But now he's the one who needs it. I think I'm grieving my old roles, because I'm no longer just the child. I am the caregiver too. And it's just a lot. It's really hard to process. But with all of that, let me say this. I'm truly grateful. It has done a number on my mind and my spirit too. It has forced me to lead into gratitude and to be able to appreciate even the smallest things. And even as I say that out loud, honestly, I could do a better job of my gratitude as of lately. So this is a reminder. It has made me extremely grateful for the fact that I can move my body in ways that he can't anymore, that I do have the autonomy to be able to go to the bathroom by myself, be able to drive myself up the street if I want to not have to rely on somebody if I want to get something done or want something, period. It is a huge reminder to continue to work on my physical health just as much as my mental, because there could be a time to where my body starts to fail me, and so I need to take care of it now. But back to the gratitude piece about being able to take care of him, that really, really helps a lot. It is an honor to care for somebody that you love in some of their most vulnerable times. It's hard, but I'm grateful. It makes me more compassionate towards my mother, because she's really the full-time caregiver, and it is a lot for her. That's her husband, that's her man. And I don't even want to know what the pain is like. You know what? It's also grieving the relationship that I had with my mom, because I am also support for her too. She is his full-time caregiver, so the majority of the work falls on her lap. And I watch her oftentimes burn herself out because, unfortunately, I have to go to work every day. And so I don't have the time to help her as much as I would like to. And so that piece is hard too. I feel guilt. Ooh, let's talk about the guilt. So I feel anticipatory grief brings guilt in a lot of different ways. I think for me, I felt a lot of guilt at the beginning for being frustrated with him sometimes because I didn't understand the disease, being frustrated with doctors that they couldn't do anything to help, frustrated with the universe, with God, with whoever or whatever is out there, asking, why does my dad have to go through this? I've felt guilt for needing space to recharge. I have felt guilt for certain boundaries I've had to implement because with this, I have had to become so diligent about the ways that I spend my time and my energy. It is the most important currency that I have. It is one that you cannot get back. And so I really have focused on my relationships and, like I said, the way I spend my time, the way I spend my energy, and it's different. Some people are not getting the same time that they got before, and some of it is on purpose. And it doesn't mean that I have any beef or ill feelings towards any of these people. It just needs to be what it is in order for me to be able to survive and have the energy to care for the people that I need to care for. And that includes myself. I have felt guilt for not being more patient at times. I have felt guilt for grieving early. But I think for me, the biggest guilt that I feel is living my life, right? Which is so counterproductive when I really think about it, because in order to survive this season of my life, I absolutely have to find joy while also maintaining the grief, right? There is nothing beneficial by me sitting in a space of grief and sadness all the time and not allowing myself to live my life. And honestly, if my dad had any concept that I felt this way, that I felt like, oh my gosh, I can't find ways to still enjoy my life. I can't go on vacation. I can't go to that concert. I can't do all the things that I still want to involve myself in. He'd be so mad. And I know that. He would tell me, absolutely not, girl. You do what you need to do for me. You do an excellent job taking care of me. Make sure you take care of yourself. Make sure you continue to find joy for yourself. I know that. I know that logically, but there's something about this grief thing, this anticipatory grief thing, that makes it really hard, at least for me, to not feel bad when I am out enjoying my life. I am doing much better now than I was before, but it's still a heavy process. But I will say that one way that I know that I am getting better is I am able to find humor in the situation. And by no means do I mean I am laughing at my dad in a negative, nasty way. Okay, that's not what this is. But my mom and I have really been able to find humor in the moments where he is just being his new self. Sometimes he just goes so against what he was ever about. So it's interesting and sometimes, to be honest, just flat out funny to see the vast difference, right? The contrast. I won't share too much, but for instance, my dad never cursed growing up. I never heard my dad curse growing up at all, which is hysterical because I have a potty mouth. But yeah, he just was never into using curse words. And so as an adult, if I ever heard him use one, I knew he was angry. I knew he was pissed off. But now with his dementia, he is so funny sometimes because he will just drop some curse words, and it's so atypical of my dad. It is just not who he's ever been, but it's like he has just lost any kind of filter sometimes, and certain things fly out of his mouth and I cannot help but laugh. My mom and I will laugh. In those moments, it is recognizing that this is not the dad that I had, but we can find a laugh here, girl. Like, it's fine. Honestly, I think this whole healing journey and all the woo-woo stuff that I'm into, I think the timing of it is always, not I think, I know the timing of it is always divine, because I firmly believe that the work that I have been doing over the last few years has prepared me for what I'm going through right now. I'm a big neuro nerd, so from a scientific perspective, I can understand what he's going through. I understand a lot of why things look a certain way. I understand a lot about aging. It's something that has always interested me, right? Psychology across the human lifespan has always just been my shit. And so I understand it from that perspective. So I don't have a pretty little bow to put on any of this, okay? Like I said, you're not coming here to get 3 tips on how to overcome anticipatory grief. That's not what this is. But I can share some of the things that I'm doing that help me move through it. And this is just what works for me right now. I'd say the first thing is I really am truly intentional about honoring the way that I feel, honoring and acknowledging my feelings. And it sounds super basic, but it has been pivotal for me. Some days I am grateful for his presence. Other days I am angry at the universe. Some days I want my dad back. And some days I have fully accepted that this is what it is. But the biggest thing is about acknowledging how I feel and then finding ways to shift the narrative and talk my way out of the darker spaces. The other piece of it is I am grieving in advance, and I have come to grips with that. I'm not waiting for a funeral to mourn. I cry when I need to, and I'm fine with that. Sometimes it's when I'm driving to work. Sometimes it's after a difficult phone call with my mom. But I fully recognize that, that I'm grieving in advance. The other thing I am allowing myself is the permission to be tired. And this is a big one. And I think if you are a caregiver, especially, give yourself the time and the space to be tired, and then honor that. Give yourself the time to recharge. And I know it's hard, especially if you are the only one caregiving, but get creative. Find some ways. Caregiving really is beautiful, and it is truly an honor. Like I said, I take a lot of pride in the fact that Whenever it is my dad's time to go, the one thing that he can never say about me is that I wasn't there for him. It is an absolute honor and a privilege to be able to take care of somebody who took care of you, somebody that you love so much, somebody who needs the help. I ain't got no problems with it. If I could do it full time and have my bills covered, I would totally do it, honestly. And I said this when it first happened. I said, oh, I wish I was in the position to help him full time because it is very gratifying, right? As hard as it is. But with that, it is also very draining. And again, I'm not even the one who does it full time. So all that to say, you can still hold sacred space and want to scream at the same time, and both are okay. Both can exist. It's called duality. And I think probably the last thing I will say is that I am letting the grief be holy. Because if you really think about it, the grief is a form of love, deep love. And love does not always look like light. Sometimes love is heavy and covered in tears. Ultimately, I am just honoring exactly where I am and getting real about it and being okay with that. I am being super intentional about the ways I expend my energy now more than ever. I don't always get it right, but your girl is trying. I am finding ways to continue to take care of myself. I will say if there's any silver lining is that this really helped kick certain things in my health journey into gear. I'm still struggling with some things, but overall it has been a huge wake-up call to take care of my mental health, my physical health, my brain health, all of the health things, because we just never know how we're going to age. If you are experiencing anticipatory grief right now, if you are watching somebody that you love slowly change, slowly almost drift away, then please know that I am extending nothing but love and peace to you. I want you to know that I see you, and there is no right way to do this. You have to find ways that keep you honest, ways that both honor the love and the loss. This is the part that nobody talks about. Nobody talks about the grief before the goodbye. Nobody talks about the mourning that really essentially is living inside of the love that we have for these people, you know? So if nobody's told you today, you are doing a lot better than you think, and you are allowed to feel however you feel. And also, you're not alone in it. No amount of inner work can prepare you for this, but I will say it certainly does help. But yeah, just know that I see you, and drop me a note if you want to connect, because I am happy to listen. Almost made it through the whole episode without crying, almost. Anyway, as always, I am super grateful for your time. I will catch you on the next episode. Peace.